Hey everyone, so I just dropped a video talking about how Ripple is absolutely crushing it with their expansion lately. And honestly, it's been insane to watch. Like, we're seeing these massive updates rolling out left and right. ROUSD expansions, Ripple custody growing like crazy. It's literally happening every other week at this point. And guess what? They just dropped another bombshell. Let me take you back to earlier this month. We're talking just 2 weeks ago here, when Ripple made this incredible announcement. They basically said, look, sending money across Africa shouldn't cost a fortune or take forever. And they're actually doing something about it. Their ROUSD stablecoin is completely game-changing here. They've partnered up with some major players, Chipper Cash, Valor.com, and Yellow Card. And together they're slashing costs, supercharging transaction speeds, and giving both individuals and businesses across the entire continent reliable access like never before. But wait, there's more. And then bam! Just when you think they're done, we get this massive announcement from the Nine. And I'm talking less than a week ago, people. So now they're heading to the Kingdom of Bahrain, and honestly, this is huge! Ripple is seriously doubling down on their Middle East expansion, and it's all building on that Dubai regulatory license they already secured. You can tell they're not messing around when it comes to the MENA region. Here's what's really exciting, though. This isn't just some basic partnership. They're talking about accelerating crypto adoption across the board, launching pilot projects, and setting up educational programs to get major financial institutions in the region familiar with Ripple custody and ROUSD. Like, they're literally building the infrastructure from the ground up. But here's the thing. Here's where it gets absolutely wild. We're already seeing ROUSD absolutely explode in real-world usage. Check this out. Monthly transfer volume is up almost 100%. We're talking 86.34% growth in just the last 30 days alone. And get this, that's $5.85 billion we're talking about here. Let that sink in for a second. And it doesn't stop there. The total value has hit over $840 million, which is up 15.24% just in the past month. I mean, these numbers are honestly insane when you think about it. What we're seeing here is real adoption happening in real time. People and businesses are actually using ROUSD, and the growth is accelerating fast. And when we dive deeper into those transfer volume numbers, so when we break down these transfer volumes, September was absolutely massive for ROUSD, like one of their biggest months ever. But here's the crazy part. We're only halfway through October right now, and the numbers are already looking incredible. If this momentum keeps going at the current pace, we're looking at closing October with around $6 billion in monthly transfer volume. That would completely blow September out of the water. What's really exciting, though, is that these aren't just random spikes anymore. We're seeing bigger moves, yes, but they're also way more consistent now. It's like ROUSD has found its rhythm, you know? And speaking of big moves, check this one out. All right, here's the announcement that's got everyone talking. So Ripple just dropped some major news today, and I'm honestly blown away by this one. ABSA South Africa, and we're talking about one of Africa's absolute biggest financial institutions here, just became Ripple's very first major custody partner on the entire continent. Think about what this means for a second. They're literally bringing institutional-grade digital asset custody to South Africa. We're talking about the kind of secure, compliant infrastructure that big institutions have been waiting for to finally dive into crypto. And honestly, this is absolutely massive. Like, we're watching history being made here as traditional African banking meets cutting-edge crypto infrastructure for the first time at this scale. This is building right off the back of that announcement from the first regarding ROUSD expanding in Africa. Now, I've got to share this quote from Reese Merrick because it really shows how personal this is for the team. He said something that really hit home. Ripple custody has officially arrived in Africa. You know, I actually spent some time working in South Africa earlier in my career, so this place has a really special spot in my heart. I'm absolutely thrilled that we're bringing this institutional-grade digital asset custody to one of the country's top banks. But here's the part that really caught my attention. He said this announcement shows just how serious these major African financial institutions are about jumping into the digital asset world. And Ripple? They're positioning themselves as the go-to trusted partner for this massive transition. That's pretty powerful stuff right there. But wait, because there's even more to this story. And then Monica Long jumped in with another perspective that really ties everything together. She pointed out something pretty incredible. Just last month, they rolled out ROUSD across the African continent. And now boom, today we're seeing Ripple custody go live too, thanks to this partnership with ABSA Bank. I mean, talk about perfect timing, right? They're literally building this ecosystem piece by piece. Now here's what we're going to do. I want to dive deep into ABSA Bank because trust me, these guys are absolutely massive players in the African banking scene. But more importantly, I want to break down exactly how this partnership is going to impact both Ripple as a company and what it could mean for XRP holders like many of you watching. So let's get into it. So let's start off with the announcement itself. So Ripple expands global custody footprint into Africa through new collaboration with ABSA Bank. All right, so let me break this down for you because this partnership is absolutely game-changing. Ripple, who, by the way, are basically the go-to company when it comes to digital asset infrastructure for major financial institutions, just announced this incredible strategic partnership with ABSA Bank. And we're talking about bringing proper institutional digital asset custody directly to South Africa. Here's how this is going to work. ABSA is going to use Ripple's top-tier custody technology to offer their customers something that's been missing in the African market: scalable, rock-solid, secure storage for digital assets. We're talking cryptocurrencies, tokenized assets, the whole 9 yards. What makes this so exciting is that regular ABSA customers are going to have access to the same level of security and infrastructure that major institutions use. That's pretty incredible when you think about it. So, ABSA just became Ripple's very first major custody partner across the entire African continent. And honestly, this makes total sense when you look at what's happening in emerging markets right now. There's this massive demand building up for secure, compliant digital asset infrastructure, especially in these growing economies. And Ripple, they're absolutely crushing it on a global scale. Their custody network now spans literally everywhere: Europe, Middle East, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and now Africa. They're basically helping financial institutions worldwide jump into the digital asset game with confidence. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing to me. The speed at which Ripple has been expanding lately is just insane. Like, we're talking about the last 2 to 3 months here, and it's been announcement after announcement. I mean, this ABSA news dropped just 10 hours ago, and that got me thinking. Let me quickly show you just how crazy this expansion has been recently. So, ABSA just became Ripple's very first major custody partner across the entire African continent. And honestly, this makes total sense when you look at what's happening in emerging markets right now. There's this massive demand building up for secure, compliant digital asset infrastructure, especially in these growing economies. And Ripple, they're absolutely crushing it on a global scale. Their custody network now spans literally everywhere: Europe, Middle East, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and now Africa. They're basically helping financial institutions worldwide jump into the digital asset game with confidence. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing to me. The speed at which Ripple has been expanding lately is just insane. Like, we're talking about the last 2 to 3 months here, and it's been announcement after announcement. I mean, this ABSA news dropped just 10 hours ago, and that got me thinking. Let me quickly show you just how crazy this expansion has been recently. Number 1, we know that Ripple just had a massive meeting in Luxembourg, around Europe as well. This is with the EU and Luxembourg adoption and also expansion happening. So we've got the Kingdom of Bahrain partnership we just talked about. Then scrolling down, there's that massive Africa announcement from October 1st that we covered earlier. And oh man, I almost forgot about this one. They just dropped a huge integration with Securitize too. That's another major move that honestly deserves its own spotlight. Like, when I'm looking at all these announcements lined up like this, it's pretty wild to see how much momentum Ripple has built up in such a short time. Then we've got this UK announcement where Casey Craddock actually flew out there to talk about this massive collaboration between the UK and US on stablecoin initiatives. That's tied to the Securitize partnership we mentioned. But wait, there's more. Scroll down and boom, there's the BDAX partnership with South Korea that we just covered recently too. And if we keep going back, we hit early September with this huge BBVA announcement in Spain, another major European bank jumping on board. Oh, and before that Spain deal, we had the original Africa announcement, plus this massive expansion with Thunes for cross-border payments. Seriously, Thunes is huge in the international money transfer space. And then, because apparently Ripple never sleeps, we got another major expansion in Japan. This one goes back to August with SBI, which is absolutely massive in the Japanese financial sector. Like, when you see it all laid out like this, it's honestly incredible how much ground they've covered in just a few months. These announcements are happening so often. Ripple is expanding globally, and this is also expanding both custody and also ROUSD adoption in these key areas. Now, here's something really exciting. Africa is going through this massive transformation in how people store and move money around. It's honestly incredible to witness. This partnership with ABSA is Ripple's way of saying, we're all in on helping Africa unlock the full potential of digital assets. And they picked the perfect partner for this. ABSA has this amazing reputation as one of Africa's most respected and innovative banks. These guys have been leading the charge in financial innovation for years, so when they decide to dive into digital assets, you know it's serious. What Ripple is bringing to the table is their most secure, compliant custody infrastructure available anywhere. We're talking military-grade security here. And here's what's really driving this whole movement. As African regulators start providing clearer guidelines around digital investments, big institutions are getting way more comfortable exploring blockchain solutions. Ripple's infrastructure is basically giving banks like ABSA the confidence to offer new digital asset services while still meeting all those strict security and regulatory requirements. It's like having the best of both worlds, cutting-edge innovation with rock-solid compliance. Now, here's a quote that really caught my attention from the head of digital product custody at ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking. They said, "As we keep innovating and adapting to this constantly changing financial world, we know how crucial it is to give our customers rock-solid, compliant custody solutions for their digital assets." Ripple's custody platform lets us tap into proven, trusted technology that hits the absolute highest marks for security and operations. Together, we're building the next generation of financial infrastructure for our customers. Did you catch that? The next generation of financial infrastructure. That's coming directly from a major African bank. And they specifically called Ripple's custody platform trusted and said it meets the highest grade security and operational standards. This is absolutely massive validation for Ripple in the institutional space. Like, when major banks are publicly saying your technology is setting the gold standard, that's not just good news, that's game-changing confirmation. And this is exactly why I keep shining a spotlight on every single product Ripple launches. Each one is building towards something huge in the institutional market. Even ROUSD, right? This is the most compliant and regulated stablecoin out there in this market. Fully transparent. Everything that Ripple is doing is on a completely different level. And this is why they are going after massive institutional players like ABSA. Now, here's what's really cool. This new partnership with ABSA isn't Ripple's first rodeo in Africa. They've actually been building up their presence on the continent all year long. Earlier this year, they teamed up with Chipper Cash, which is this huge Africa-based payments provider, bringing crypto-enabled payment tech to the region. Plus, that's when ROUSD officially landed in Africa too. So they've been laying the groundwork for months. What's amazing is that Ripple is seeing this crazy surge in demand for their payment solutions across Africa from both crypto companies and traditional banks. It's like the whole continent is ready to embrace this technology. And get this, according to Ripple's 2025 New Value Report, 64% of finance leaders in the Middle East and Africa say faster payments and settlement times are the biggest reason they want to start using blockchain-based currencies for cross-border payments. That's massive. Here's why Ripple is absolutely crushing it in this space. They've built this simple, secure, compliant digital asset infrastructure that gives institutions everything they need to store, exchange, and move digital assets with confidence. And let's not forget, these guys have over a decade of experience in digital assets and hold more than 60 regulatory licenses across different countries. That's some serious credibility right there. Everything that Ripple is doing, their experience in the space, all of these major moves, it goes without saying that Ripple is operating on a completely different field. I keep stressing this. Everyone is constantly talking about how RLUSD is so far behind Tether and Circle. Guys, RLUSD just launched not even a full year ago, and it has done tremendously well. Enthusiastic. This is just the beginning for what Ripple is going to accomplish. Now, to build on top of this announcement, I want to go over a few things with ABSA Bank. All right, first things first. Let's talk about who ABSA Bank actually is, because these guys are absolutely massive. ABSA is one of the leading Pan-African banks, and their mission is pretty inspiring when you think about it. They're all about serving the people of Africa, and they're determined to become a globally respected organization that the entire continent can be proud of. What I love about their approach is how comprehensive it is. They're not just focused on profits. They're investing heavily in their employees, uplifting local communities, and helping their clients achieve their biggest goals and ambitions. But here's what really stands out to me. They say, "Our heartbeat is Africa." And they mean it. They're committed to having a presence across the entire continent and making a real contribution to Africa's growth and development. So when a bank this size and this committed to African development partners with Ripple, you know it's going to make waves across the entire financial landscape. Now, ABSA definitely has offices around the world. They're actually a pretty major player even outside of Africa. But here's what we need to focus on: the facts. This is one of Africa's leading banks, and I'm talking massive bank here, people. Now, I bring this up because throughout 2025, we've been hearing all this noise about how banks will never adopt XRP and no traditional banks are going to touch Ripple technology. And some of you might be thinking, well, yeah, but this is just Ripple custody, so they don't really care about XRP. But here's what I've been saying for months now, and this is crucial to understand. Custody is literally the foundation that everything else gets built on. Think about it this way. Custody is like the first domino that needs to fall before all the other amazing use cases can happen. Once banks have secure custody figured out, that's when the floodgates open for tokenization, digital asset management, stablecoin issuance, and so much more. And here's where it gets really exciting. Tokenization? Boom! XRP Ledger is perfect for that. Stablecoin issuance? We already know ROUSD runs on the XRP ledger. See the pattern here? Almost every single piece of this puzzle connects back to the XRP ledger. Even institutional DeFi. And institutional DeFi? Oh man, Ripple is going all in on this space in a huge way. I'm not sure if they mention it in this specific announcement, but we've been covering institutional DeFi extensively on the channel. Here's what's really cool. Ripple actually has a dedicated institutional DeFi portal right on their website, and guess what it's built on? You got it. The XRP Ledger. This is why I get so excited about these major bank announcements. When you really dig into it, every single thing Ripple is doing, whether it's custody, tokenization, stablecoins, or DeFi, it all comes back to XRP and the XRP Ledger. It's like this massive interconnected web where each new partnership and each new service strengthens the entire XRP ecosystem. These aren't isolated announcements. They're all pieces of the same giant puzzle. Now let's talk numbers, because ABSA's financials are pretty incredible when you break them down. So right off the bat, we're looking at total assets of over 2 trillion South African rand. And when you convert that to US dollars, we're talking about roughly $120 billion. That's around $119 billion to be more precise. Now, while $120 billion might not sound absolutely massive compared to some of the biggest global banks, here's what's really important to understand. ABSA is absolutely huge within the African banking landscape. The significance here isn't just about the raw numbers. It's about what this partnership represents for Ripple's expansion strategy and their foothold in one of the world's most important emerging markets. You know, this is a bank that is a part of a huge group with a few other players, but it's also one of the largest banks in these areas like Africa, which also shows us the presence in which Ripple has in these areas as well. I'm very excited about this because it also ties back to the fact that ABSA is a part of some core organizations, like for example, the G20 and even the B20. Now here's something that might not seem like a big deal at first, but trust me, it's actually huge. ABSA plays a central role in both the G20 and the B20. We're talking diamond sponsor for B20 South Africa and gold sponsor for the G20. What this means is they're actively helping shape economic policy and giving Africa a stronger voice on the global stage. Pretty impressive stuff. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but why should I care about all these fancy sponsorships and global meetings? It doesn't really have anything to do with Ripple, right? Well, the fact that you know ABSA is working very closely with the G20 task forces and working groups, what they're mainly focused on is core pieces, making sure that the strategic priorities of the G20 are met. When we think about this, the fact that ABSA is now tapping in with Ripple, it takes me back to that announcement going all the way back to 2023. This was when Ripple joined forces with the BIS in that cross-border payments initiative, the CPMI group. Okay, a lot of people don't know, but the CPMI group was created to hit the targets and the goals established by the G20 around cross-border payments. Here's where things get really interesting. Remember the Financial Stability Board? Yeah, the same organization that Ripple actually got to comment on global crypto frameworks for? Well, they're dedicated to helping achieve G20 goals, especially around cross-border payments. And here's a crazy throwback. This is the exact same Financial Stability Board that allowed Ripple to weigh in on regulatory frameworks back in 2022, right in the middle of their lawsuit. Talk about credibility. All of these major players, ABSA, the Financial Stability Board, G20 members, they're all laser-focused on achieving those G20 targets for faster, cheaper cross-border payments. So when I see this ABSA Ripple partnership announcement, it immediately takes me back to all those strategic networking moves Ripple has been making over the years. All those high-level connections, all those regulatory conversations, all that relationship building. It's starting to make perfect sense now. This just proves that Ripple is operating on a completely different level than everyone else in this space. But also they're working with some of the biggest names that are responsible for changing our entire financial system. I mean, we're talking about the BIS here, literally the central bank of all central banks. All these moves we're witnessing right now, they're absolutely heating up, getting bigger, and happening at lightning speed compared to what we've seen before. This whole thing is proving just how massive the shift around crypto has been in 2025. It's like night and day, and honestly, ever since that lawsuit wrapped up, it feels like Ripple has been moving at warp speed, faster than we've ever seen them operate. I'm genuinely excited about where this is all heading, especially for XRP holders because, like I keep saying, almost every single one of these major institutional moves connects back to XRP somehow. The dots are all connecting. The future is looking incredibly bright, and institutional adoption isn't just coming anymore, it's here. Banks are actively partnering with Ripple, and this ABSA deal is absolutely massive proof of that. So there you have it. This partnership is a game changer, and I can't wait to see what Ripple announces next. If you found this breakdown helpful, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and definitely hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of these major updates.